Okay, Team Impact, we're moving on to student handout 4, absolute value. Absolute value is a kind of a unique thing. Once you get it, it's pretty easy, but absolute value, really by definition, is a number's distance from zero. So as we go through this, we'll try to explain this a little bit more detail, but I think you'll be okay with this. Let's get started. Make a point at both 5 and -5 on the number line. 5 and -5 on the number line. Describe what you notice to be the difference. Okay. Well, certainly, this has a negative, this has a positive. And if I ask you, all right, one thing, they are the same distance from zero. There are 5 spaces here, and there are 5 spaces here. Between the two dots, there's a total of 10, all right, spaces. So I'm just writing down between. Okay. And you can write down whatever you like there. But, essentially we have a negative and a positive. Just the core focus is its distance from zero is 5. Its distance from zero is 5. The absolute value of a number is the distance away from zero on the number line. The magnitude, wow, that's a big word, magnitude of a number is always the absolute value of the number, all right? Example, 1 through 51 is red. The absolute value, oh, I'm sorry, that's absolute value. It looked like 1 through 51. All right, but anyway, this is red. The absolute value, V-A-L-U-E, value of -5. I wrote the -5 because I ran out of space with that hole. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and find the absolute value of these numbers. And this is what that means. These two lines, absolute value. And I apologize about that. I don't know what I was looking at there. But anyway, this is red, the absolute value of -8. How far is -8 from zero? It's 8 spaces. How far is the absolute value of how far is -1 from zero? 1 space. How far is 3 from zero? The absolute value of 3 is 3. How far is -4.5 from zero? Or what is the absolute value of that? It's 4.5. And what's the absolute value of 6? It's 6. And again, these are just its distance from zero. All right, and we could use this number line to help us. Okay. So write the absolute value to describe the situation below. New Orleans is 8 feet below sea level, right? So we would write this as the absolute value of -8. We want to write it with an absolute value describing it. Mr. Simpson owes $563 on his credit card bill. 563. So if he owes it, it's a negative 563. And we're going to take the absolute value of that. And that's describing it. And let's flip it over here. Okay. All right. Let's continue on here. Absolute values can be compared. Now let me make sure that you can see this. Let me change my view here. Bring that down a little bit there. Can be compared. All right, compare the following absolute values. Okay, all right, no problems here. So, all right, the absolute value of 2 5/10 is that, and the absolute value of -2 5/10 is that. So guess what? The absolute values, they are equal. They have the same distance from zero. The absolute value of -3 9/10 is 3 9/10. So that's certainly less than 4. The next one, the absolute value of -7 8/10 is that. And the absolute value of 6 1/4 is really, and I'm going to change that to a decimal because it's easier for me to read, but 6 is certainly less than 7. So we're going to put another less than sign. Okay. The absolute value of negative is is 16 over 4, which equals 4. And the absolute value of this is 3 and 9/10, so that is going to be greater than, right? All right, so now we're going to do some without an absolute value. So negative 24 and negative 18. Negative 24 is actually less than negative 18. The absolute value of negative 24 is 24, and that is 18. And now we're going to be greater than. So you see how it changes it when you compare these two problems. And that's what we notice when we take the absolute value. This, even though negative 24 is smaller, it has a further distance from 0 than negative 18. Number 10. Use your understanding of absolute value to answer the questions. Okay. So absolute value of negative 16 is 16. Find all the values for x, where x, the absolute value of x, equals 11. Well, that has two values. One value is 11 because the absolute value of 11 is 11, and the absolute value of the other answer is 11 as well. Negative 11 is 11. So that had two answers, 11 and negative 11. Number 12. Find all the values for x when we find the absolute value of x is equal to 7/8. Well, one is 7/8, and the other is negative 7/8. They both have the same distance from 0. Number 13. Crew owns his mom $23, and James owes his mom $8. Which amount has the greatest magnitude? Right? Which one is the biggest, essentially, right? So, when we look at this, he owes his mom. So, if he owes somebody, it's a negative. And James, he owes somebody, it's a negative. What has the biggest absolute value? Well, that's 23, and that's 8. Certainly, that's it. So who is it? 23, or crew. Okay, let me check we're in good shape. All right, this is 8 and 9/10. You're starting to get the idea now, right? Find two numbers that are 25 and 6/10 units away from 0. Okay, well, the two would be negative 25 and 6/10. That's that far from 0, and certainly 25 and 6/10. Right? Those both have the same distance from 0. Okay, so we're going to end up with a couple challenge questions. I'm going to bend that up just a tad for you so you can see. All right, so first thing we're going to say, negative, what is the absolute value of negative 39 negative? So when you have something, and I'm going to darken that in just a little bit. What I like to do is cover that up. So the absolute value of negative 39 is 39. And then you bring that negative down. So that's actually negative 39. Okay, let's try another one. The absolute value of negative 44 is 44 and plus 5. 44 plus 5 is 49. And we circle it. Now, 50 minus the absolute value. So I'm going to rewrite the problem. And 50 minus 18 is 32.